Hello everyone. In this session, we will take a look at how can you create scatter chart in Power BI. Scatter charts display data as a collection of points on a two-dimensional plane, with each point representing the values of two variables. This chart type is useful for identifying the correlations and relationship between the variables, as well as the outliers and patterns in the data. Scatter charts are particularly effective for visualizing the data sets with many data points or complex relationship between the variables. So let's go to the Power BI screen and see how can we create this kind of visualization. Now let's say I want to see the correlation between the profit and the sales that has been done. So for that, I will choose this scatter plot. I will click on scatter plot, put it in focus mode, and here I need to drag and drop the profit as well as the sales. So you have to decide which value you have to keep on the x-axis and which value you want to keep it at the y-axis. Remember, there should be two numeric values to see the correlation between these data points. So I am taking the first numeric value as the profit and the second numeric value as the sales. Now it is showing me the sum of the profit and the sum of the sales. I want to see this for individual categories. So for that, I can drag and drop these categories in the values option. Now you can see I have these three different dots. I can see that the category of the furniture is the one which is giving me the least amount of profit, whereas the highest amount of profit is obtained with this technology. And also I can see this technology is the one which is giving me the highest amount of sales. So in this way, you can try to find out that what is the particular part which is giving you the highest amount of sales or profit, or how much is the quantity being sold. So this is fairly an example of how can you find the correlation between two numeric values. Now, these were three data points. Let's talk about multiple data points. What if I want to see the same trend in different subcategories? So for that, I will drag and drop this subcategory in the values. And now I have multiple subcategories over here. Now to identify these subcategories, it is very crucial for me to have some data labels over here, because I cannot just hover over every subcategory and try to find out what it is representing. So for that, I will go in the format your visual option, and I have this category label option. I will turn it on. Also, you can try to turn on the data labels over here. Now you can see that the tables is the one which is giving me the least profit. That means the profit is in negative. You can see it is just behind this zero point 0.0 million, and it is representing something in negative direction. Whereas if we talk about the sales, it is giving me a decent sales of, I think, 0.75. Yeah, it is giving me a sales of 0.75 million. But if we talk about in the terms of profit, it is not giving me any kind of profit over here. If we talk about the copiers, this is the one which is giving me a good amount of profit as well. And also it is giving me good sales. So these are some of the things which are giving us good profit and good sales: chairs, bookcases, phones, and copiers. And what are the different things which are being sold at a good scale but are not giving as much of profit? So you can see, like, whatever the values would be coming over here in the sales part, and which would be at the top of the sales part. Let's say, for example, the storage. It is giving a good amount of sales, but it is not generating too much profit as compared to accessories and appliances, which are not doing very great in sales, but are still giving me good amount of profit. That means maybe the profit margin is high in those things. So with the help of this part, I can easily identify the trends in different kind of measures. Now, scatter chart is the only chart in Power BI which by default has some animation in it. And if I say the animation, how can we create any animation with the help of scatter chart? To do that, if we just scroll down to the data values, you can see I have this play axis option over here. Before that, I will also show you the size option. So let's say if you want to make any changes to the size of these bubbles and you want to put a third measure over here. Let's say if I'm also talking about the quantity of the items that has been sold. So in that case, I can find quantity and I can just drop it on the size option. Now the size of each bubble represents the quantity of item it has sold. So you can see the quantity of the tables that was sold was very less. Still, it is giving me some loss. If we talk about the phones, the quantity of the phones which has been sold is good, and it is giving me a good profit. But if we talk about the storage, the quantity which has been sold for storage is more than the phones. Still, it is giving me the less profit if we talk about multiple other categories. Appliances, you can see the quantity sold is less than the storage, still it is giving me good amount of profit. And the same inference can be generated by it that maybe the appliances have some good profit margin. And then let's talk about the play access part. So how can you create a by default animation that is present in the scatter chart? So for that, you need any date field, because you need to relate that are the things changing in relation to some dates. So for the date field, I have this order date over here and I have the hierarchy of dates. Now let's say I want to see the year on a year change, or maybe the quarterly change, the monthly change. How can I do it? So you just have to drag and drop this part on the top of play axis. Then you have to give it some time and it would generate this timeline for you. After it has generated the timeline, you can see there is this play option. So you can click on it and you can see the values and how these values are changing. So for example, you can see copiers was going ahead of the phones, then phones took over at some point, and again copiers came in again at the front, and at last we can say that phone is ahead of all of them. So you can see the contribution of the profit throughout the multiple months and how the trend is going with the help of this button. So you can create an animation with the help of this. So this is one of the ways in which you can create a scatter chart. You can try to show the correlation between different measures. You can also add in a third measure and put it in the size. And you can take the advantage of play axis and you can create a appealing visualization, which is basically animated in nature. So this was all for the scatter plot. In the next session, we'll be talking about the pie chart and the donut chart. Thank you.